got it?
Yeah, you're not in it. It's live.
All right, take some pictures first. You want to walk up here and look? Yeah, it's good. Cold in here. Need a blanket. Good to go? All right. All right, well, thank you guys for coming out. I'm Charlie Raymond. I'm not the original presenter, and they contacted me last minute. And luckily, I do this all the time, and I have presentations set up, and I do libraries and conferences. A little bit about me. I'm the founder of the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Organization. I've been doing research for over 3 decades in Kentucky. Time flies. So over 30 years of interviewing witnesses in Kentucky. I have over 500 witnesses I've documented and I deem credible that I go and I meet in person, I talk to them on the phone, and if I think it's legit, I will add it to my database/website. KentuckyBigfoot.com. So if you go there, you can go read all the reports. The YouTube channel with witness testimony is on there. I like doing that now because you can hear their emotion, their passion. So here's what got me addicted to this. It wasn't because I had a sighting. Believe it or not, I have not really had a sighting. Maybe 75 yards away, I saw 2 cross a creek, but it was hard to tell, but they were dark in color, the arms swing. There was nobody else around. Could have been 2 Bigfoot. It was in a hot area down by Henderson, Kentucky, that area. What got me addicted were the witnesses. When I speak to them on the phone and to hear their passion, their excitement, their detail, their consistency from when they submit the report online to where I talk to them on the phone to where I meet them in person, it is consistent across the board. I'm like, wow, you guys got to hear this. Or I tell my wife, you got to hear this. So then I started recording them on my phone, and they're on my YouTube as well. So you can listen to it, you judge for yourself. Is this legit or not legit? Here's what's important about witness testimony, right? They use it in the court of law, don't we? It also tells us what a Bigfoot looks like. We don't have many pictures of a Bigfoot, but based on the witnesses I've spoken to, I get a general idea of what they look like. Their behaviors. We learn about their behaviors from the witnesses. What do they do? How do they act? And even more importantly, their locations. I have private Google Maps all over Kentucky, every county, with little pins of the sightings. I don't publish that on my website because I like to kind of do research there and investigate the areas. If I make it too public, then everybody swarms in. You got people trying to shoot them or goofing off, and then it gets saturated. And then my fishing hole is no longer my fishing hole because all the fish are gone. So I kind of protect those areas. I do want to protect them. And I know you're going to ask, somebody's going to ask this, why do you need to protect them? They're doing just fine, right? We don't need to protect them. We need to protect their habitat. So our mission is really to protect the forest they live in. And I hate to break it to you, there's only one Santa Claus, but there are a lot of Bigfoots. There's a living, breathing population of yet to be discovered, yet to be classified hominids closely related to us. That's what I believe based on my research. I'm going to get into other theories about what a Bigfoot is. I'm going to talk about the Nephilim in the Bible. I'm going to talk about paranormal, supernatural things that people claim, which could be true. We don't have the answers, obviously, but I will go over my research and what I think, and Again, I'm no expert. I'm just sharing you what I know. What I encourage you to do, though, is to do your own research. Get out in the woods with friends and family. The worst thing that can happen is you have a great time together in nature. Chances of having a Bigfoot sighting is rare. I gotta back up because she's recording this and she's gonna be mad that I'm not on camera. It's very rare you get a Bigfoot sighting or interaction. I've been close many times. And each circumstance I can tell you what happened, you had to be there, and I'm a big chicken. When they push a tree over, they throw rocks, they growl, I leave the area. And I honestly believe they do it because they're territorial. They don't want to hurt us. So I know the kids in the back, I say this all the time. Every single report I've taken of close encounters with the Bigfoot never hurts the human. The Bigfoot usually walks away, the human usually runs away. But again, they're just curious. That's their biggest weakness, is their curiosity. When we do expeditions and hunts, we have interactions just by being happy-go-lucky hikers and campers. We play music, we cook food, we laugh, we tell stories. We don't bring guns, we don't wear camo. That's going to scare them off. They know what hunters do, right? They have adapted over thousands of years to elude us, to avoid us. I like to say they have a high environmental IQ. I like to think I coined that term. So when you get out in the woods, as soon as you open your car door, they know you're there and you're not going to sneak up on them. So don't bother running around like mountain monsters. That's just entertainment. So when we do research, we go out there, even large groups. We've had great success. We've actually had sightings on some of our expeditions and hunts. Great interactions as well. All my interactions, when I have return tree knocks and keeps knocking back, I knock, and it's coming closer, and then maybe I overstay my welcome and it pushes a tree down, it throws rocks, it growls, then I know it's time to leave. And I leave. One day I'm gonna hold my ground and I'm gonna see one. Hopefully, before I die. So, what I'll do is I'll take questions at the end of this. So save your questions, and when I get through, I have lots of questions. I do have some Bigfoot merch in the back. T-shirts, my book, actually. I'd be happy to give you a copy of my book and sign that for you. So think of questions as I go along, because I know you have a lot of them. So Kentucky is top in the country. And people don't realize this. I'm also a BFRO investigator for Kentucky. You know, Mount Moneymaker, Finding Bigfoot, he organized the BFRO years ago. It's the largest database of Bigfoot sightings in his database. He has legit people like me in each state investigating reports. So I know you see Finding Bigfoot, you see Renee and Bobo, which are wonderful people. I've met them all. I've been out in the woods with all of them. Super nice people. Some stuff on TV is for TV. You know, they got to entertain you. But a lot of it, what they do is legit. With Finding Bigfoot, Expedition Bigfoot, that's pretty much legit what we do. Not the mountain monsters, though, that's more entertainment. It's scripted TV. So, I just want to clarify a lot of that stuff. The reason why Kentucky has a lot of sightings, we have a lot of people living in the woods in Kentucky, right? There's probably more Bigfoot in Canada, but we don't have as many people living next to the Bigfoots. You need two things for a sighting or an encounter. You need a Bigfoot, you need a person. So we live where the Bigfoots live in Kentucky, basically, and that's why we have so many sightings. Here are all the counties. I need to update this. It's generally the same. The county with the most sightings is Anderson County. We're right next to the hot spot, Anderson County, along the Kentucky River. And I'll go over some sightings here, and this is Madison County, right? I'll go over a few sightings here that I dug up as well. All right, so here's your typical Bigfoots in Kentucky from my research. Talking to the witnesses, going out, standing where the Bigfoot stood, the witness stood where they stood. and we measure how high they are. And they're always bigger than they think. When they first check the report, oh, it's maybe 6, 7 foot, 300 pounds. You get out there, ends up being 8, 9 foot, 1,000 pounds. So they estimate, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, Idaho State University, PhD in anthropology and anatomy, studies Bigfoot. He estimates an 8.5 foot Bigfoot at 1,000 pounds. So an 8 foot Bigfoot is 1,000 pounds. Much bigger than we think. I talked about non-harmful. I don't want to confuse that with territorial. Like I said, they do get aggressive, and that's when you leave. But they usually don't hurt people. The other thing, I know I'm not here, a camera there. A hooded nose. So I think this is important. I have sightings where the witness came within 20 feet of a Bigfoot, daytime. Okay, in Anderson County. Lynn Hutton was bow hunting with his son, daytime. Comes out of a cedar thicket. A Bigfoot comes out the other side. They're standing about 20 feet. He's looking at this Bigfoot. The son's trying to look. He's pushing his boy back. He's also trying to get his pistol out of his coat. The Bigfoot's just staring at him. He's staring at the Bigfoot. He said it had a wide hooded nose. Flat, wide hooded nose. Not a nose like a gorilla. Every report I've taken in Kentucky, they have a wide hooded nose. Again, with their high intellect, that's why I say they're closer to us than a gorilla. If Bigfoot was a gorilla, we have him in a cage by now. It's not a big, dumb, slow gorilla. These things are highly intelligent. Makes sense, right? They have to be. So here's a couple things. Eyewitnesses say they walk with a gliding motion. They don't bob up and down. It's a smooth, agile, fast. Of course, the arm swing. They turn their entire upper torso. They got the heavy trapezius muscle. They can't just turn their head. So like Patty in the Patterson-Gimlin footage, if you look at her, she kind of turns at the waist. A lot of witnesses in Kentucky, same thing. It turned at the waist and looked at me. So when I see these consistencies over and over again, I learn about their behavior and their anatomy. Reddish brown is the predominant color. So I'm going to give you a trick question here. I just kind of gave it away. What color is the Yeti?
White.
White? It's a trick question. Reddish brown, yeah, that's what you said. Yeah, you got it. Reddish brown is the hair of the Yeti. People don't know that. So follow me on this. This is my theory. I think the Bigfoots came across the Bering Strait land bridge like all the other animals in North America and dispersed across North America. And so the Bigfoot is related to the Yeti. A lot of the countries, the Bigfoots have different names. It's all basically the same hominid. Now, over thousands of years, some might be bigger, some might have a little bit different coloration, depending on where they live, because they adapt to their environment. So here's Dr. Jeff Meldrum I spoke of. You've seen him before. The largest cast collection is in his collection. The largest sample, I gave goosebumps, the largest sample in his collection is from Kentucky. Tom Shea is a researcher in northern Kentucky, has got these casts. I got a bunch of them, but I was last minute getting here, I couldn't grab my casts. So that's exciting to think that he has these casts that he vouches for. He looks at them and he says, oh, these aren't fake. These are most likely legit footprint casts. Dr. Jane Goodall, you've heard of her, right? World-renowned primatologist. Guess what? Google her and Bigfoot. You'll find out she believes in Bigfoot. Based on the latest evidence that's been out, she is a believer in Bigfoot. 10 years ago, these scientists would never come forward, right, from ridicule, they lose their jobs. But now they're not afraid to. So the Patterson-Gimlin footage is still the best footage to date. They've reanalyzed it. They've taken that footage. They've taken a digital camera, took a frame, a picture of each frame of that footage, put it back together, and you can watch it online, and they can see the muscles contract. More anthropologists now believe that's legit footage of a living, breathing creature. I think I have a little video here to show you. This is a little snippet, you can see it. Actually, that's not the good one. There's better ones out there. This is an older presentation because I was kind of rushed to get in here. There's a better one than this one. Much better than this one. This is an older one. Sorry. But go online, look it up, you can read about it. There's a good documentary, Sasquatch Legend Meets Science. Watch that documentary, it breaks it down nicely. Oh, this is Dr. Jeff Meldrum with that 8.5-foot tall skeleton of a Sasquatch. Again, Idaho State University, he's got a PhD in anthropology, anatomy. Think about this, he has everything to lose, right? Ridicule from his peers, losing his job. Not afraid to say it now, there's more research now than ever before for Bigfoot. But what's going to take, it's going to take a body. We've got DNA, we've got tracks. We have some pictures and some videos. It's going to take a body. And I do not want to kill one. There's a group in Texas that wants to kill one to prove the species. There's that argument there, we need one specimen to save the species. I'm not the guy to do it. That's Mr. Munns, Hollywood Special Effects. He made a replica of Gigantopithecus. Gigantopithecus was a 10-foot tall ape, lived about 100,000 years ago in Asia. We have fossils of Gigantopithecus. A lot of academics and researchers believe Bigfoot is a descendant of Giganto. So we do have some fossils. The first chimp fossils were found in 2005. 2005 is not very long ago to find your first chimpanzee fossils. Because where chimps and apes die, the ground is not very conducive to preserving fossils. They did a time lapse of a deer carcass, put the camera on it. Guess how long it took for every piece of that deer to vanish? How long? A year? Three what? Years? Months. You're getting warmer. Who said months? Lower?
A week.
About 3 weeks. So right in between. So in other words, less than a month, that deer's gone. Scavengers, porcupine, devour those bones. It's full of nutrients. There's video of a deer eating another deer's bone. You can find it online. So the bones don't stay there. So follow me on this. Where does a sick apex predator go when it's sick? Cave. Where else? Home. Yeah. To his mommy. Mountain. So Reese, we know this. They go up and hide, right? When it sense that the Bigfoot's dying, and he goes to these hills and hollers of Kentucky, we don't want to walk. It's too steep, too deep. Right? By the time we get there, the bones are gone. The Bigfoot's not going to die by a trail for us to find his bones. I ask hunters, and I ask you guys, anybody a hunter in here? A hunter in the back, too? We have black bear in Kentucky, right? Have you ever seen a black bear skeleton in the woods? Black bear skeleton. I've never got a yes to that question. And we know they're black bear here. Because the same thing, the bones vanish quickly. There's more statistics on this. The giant human-like skeletons, I gotta say this. Google them. There are newspaper articles of these giants along the Ohio Valley. You can read about it in the newspapers. The Smithsonian documented them to the 20s and then stopped. And I was watching the Discovery Channel just about a month ago, and I should have recorded it because they mentioned the guy's name for the Smithsonian who put a stop to all the giant skeletons. And I need to research that guy's name. Why? Why? Where are these giant skeletons? So, you can get into the whole government cover-up thing. You can get into a lot of things. I will tell you this. I do believe the government knows because I've got a sergeant at Fort Knox, deathbed confession of them terminating 4 Bigfoot on Fort Knox. It's on my YouTube channel. It's a long story. It's shocking. It's sad. But they had to sign non-disclosure, blah, 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 blah. So I do think the government knows, and I've got other examples that I've researched. All right, these are replicas. These are hominid fossils, which we have, different types of hominids. We got some models. I show the models because the ones with the hooded nose, are a little bit actually over here more, not so much down here. The hooded nose are a key for Kentucky. So this is interesting. The giant tortoise just discovered a few years ago in the Galapagos. That giant tortoise is big, slow, and not so bright. A Bigfoot is the ninja of the forest, right? He's super intelligent, super fast, super cunning. Its senses are much better than our senses, and I'll get into that. So it's anything crazy. We haven't discovered all the animals on this planet. Scientists think there's 10 million animals, species. We've only discovered about 2 million of them. And every year there's new species. There's another monkey. New monkey just found a couple of years ago. Another hominid skull just found. So this is what's exciting. That's more hominids. In the last 50,000 years, now 50,000 years is not that long. We've had 7 different hominids on this planet. 7 different. Now we just learned this, right? What DNA is in us? We just learned from another hominid. What? Yeah, Homo sapien, and what else? Neanderthal. We just learned just a few years ago that there is some interbreeding between the two. So we all have Neanderthal DNA in us. There's another one too. The Denisovan DNA. So anthropology is changing. Dr. Jeff Meldrum, I spoke with him at a conference. He's an anthropologist. He says it's very dynamic. It's changing almost daily what we're learning about anthropology. So here's my example of flesh and blood versus paranormal, supernatural. Again, in the Bible, Genesis, they talk about the Nephilim, came down, there's children, I gotta figure out how I say some of this stuff. But basically, a Nephilim was like a giant and had supernatural abilities, right? So some people think Bigfoot is a Nephilim. Could be. So I think more adaptation through science over thousands of years. You adapt to your environment. We use technology all the time. So our senses are getting worse. We need eyeglasses, hearing aids. A Bigfoot relies on their senses. So their senses are better than ours. Maybe even their sixth sense is better than ours. Maybe they tap into that more. Because people talk about mind speak and some other things that Bigfoots can do. Maybe. So see the Bigfoot right here? That's a sketch from Kentucky. A witness was driving. The traffic was backed up. I think this is over in Washington County, maybe. She's sitting in traffic, looks over, and this Bigfoot's standing there looking at her, and then walks off into the woods. Looked just like this. That's how she described it. There's an artist in our organization. He draws the sketches based on the witnesses. So here's my example of this. Some people believe Bigfoots can cloak, turn invisible. Some believe they can go through portals, which is possible. I don't know. I believe they're so quick and we're so slow. If we blink our eyes, they're gone. If we look down to see where we're stepping so we don't trip, they're gone. If we turn to our buddy and say, hey, it's gone. Because they'll drop down in high grass, they'll slip behind a tree in an instant. Super quick. So watch this Bigfoot, and on the count of 3, I want you to blink your eyes. 1, 2, 3. Here you go. Did he go through a portal? Did he cloak? Maybe. Or did he drop down in the tall grass? Or go right behind the tree? All right, so where are the pictures and videos? All right, all of these game cameras out there. Okay, so follow me on this. I've got some I'm going to show you today. These people don't want their names out there. They don't want their address. You know why? They don't want the media on their property. They don't want hunters on their property. They don't want trespassers on their property. Do not give out my name and my address. But you can show the picture. I'll show you a couple today. But there's not a lot of these. And a lot of people won't come forward with them is one reason. Because a witness has everything to lose and nothing to gain. Nowadays, you can have the best video of a Bigfoot, it's not going to matter. You can have the best picture of a Bigfoot, it's not going to matter. With Photoshop, AI technology now, you know, there's so many hoaxes out there, it's not going to matter. So a lot of people don't even bother sharing. The other thing is, the new game cameras have IR, infrared. So, I had third generation night vision on, military issue night vision. My buddy had a pair of cheaper night vision. When he was shining or looking around with his night vision, I could see through my night vision the IR being like a flashlight going through the woods. If a Bigfoot is adapted over thousands of years, right, their eyesight's better than ours. Maybe they're nocturnal, they can see at night, maybe. They're going to see that IR beam from that camera. They're not going to walk over there. When that camera's shooting off, they're going to, I'm not going over there. Makes sense, right? There's other examples there of why they avoid the game cameras. Possibly why. So here's a couple pictures. This one is from Owensboro, Kentucky. It was in a restaurant. And here's what happens. It was on a bulletin board with a thumbtack in it in a restaurant. And the guy goes, "What is that?" Goes, "We don't know." He goes, "Can I make a copy of that?" Gave him it, scanned it, sent it to me. I go, "Can you contact that restaurant owner, get the SD card? Because if I get that SD card, I can zoom in, analyze it, and tell you what it is maybe." He already put the SD card back in his camera. He wanted to get pictures of deer. He didn't care about it. So this is all we have. We have this dark thing right here. And see this up here? I hate to break it to you, it's not the mothership. It's not a UFO. That's where the thumbtack was. The thumbtack was up there. This one was from Ohio County. Another one, game camera photo. The picture was taken from one of his own relatives in his house of his TV screen. This is not a portal. This is the reflection to his kitchen, the hallway to his kitchen. He had 5 of these pictures. It's kind of down on its knees. It's got his hands in the corn. The face doesn't look like your typical Bigfoot. Almost looks more demonic. I've seen these on an HD TV, the originals. There's 5 of them. It's walking up, yellow glowing eyes, it's in the corn, and it's walking away. And then in the next season, same thing, it walks up and walks away. He had all 5 of these pictures. I offered him to sign non-disclosure, offered him money. My wife even baked brownies for him. Would not give me the SD cards to analyze. And the reason I got that picture was online. Somebody took that picture and put it online. So it's online now too somewhere. This one was from Tennessee. So I get people sending me blob squatches, shadows in the woods all the time. Pareidolia. Who knows what pareidolia is? Pareidolia.
It's the tendency to try and recognize patterns where none exist.
Yes. And as humans, we have the innate ability to see faces, right? We recognize faces in the clouds and everywhere. I get people that send me these red circles around these shadows in the woods. And I'm like, you can zoom in anywhere and find those shadows, those faces. I can go behind Walmart and do the same thing. When you zoom in, it pixelates, it matrixes, and you can see faces all the time. So when I got this on my phone, I never even opened it. I thought, oh, it's another blob squatch. Later that day, the day I opened it, I go, oh my gosh, I jumped in my car and drove down to Tennessee. He was in his hunting blind on the ground early in the morning. He thought it was a deer coming. This female Bigfoot walks right in front of him. He takes out his cell phone and takes a picture as she walks away. That's why you have the flash here. He actually used his cell phone. I took this picture and I put it next to a frame from the Patterson Gimlin footage. Very similar. This guy said, do not give out my name. Please do not give out my address. I don't want people on my property or harassing me. But you can show it in your presentations. So there's some pictures out there. And again, there's probably more that people don't want to share. So here's some local encounters I pulled up here in this county. Anybody know where Bear Mountain is? Or is that a nickname somebody came up with? July 93, a hiker hears tapping sounds. So he has some binoculars. He looks down in this holler, and about 250 yards away, he sees what he thinks is a bear sitting on a log. It's back to him. When he looks closer, it's hitting that log with a rock. Wide shoulders. The bear stands up on two legs, which we know we know bears can do that, but Bigfoots do it and walk away. It stood up, it turned and looked at him at 250 yards away. He knew he was there. He was there. Did it smell him? Did it sense him? It turned and looked right at the guy looking at him with binoculars and walked away. Bears won't walk far on two legs. Bears don't have clavicles. Bears don't have shoulders. So the witness said it had wide shoulders. 3 to 4 foot wide shoulders. That's more likely a Bigfoot than a bear. When bears stand up, if you ever look at a picture, the arms go straight down. A bear has a big muzzle. A Bigfoot has a flat face. A bear has large protruding ears. A Bigfoot, you don't see the ears usually at all. So when we talk to the witnesses, we try to figure out, do they see a bear or a Bigfoot? This one in 83, is it Waco or Waco? Waco. I don't know. Flint Road. Anybody know where Flint Road is? You live there? You better lock your windows. That was a while ago. So some boy, whenever, is that the one? Oh yeah. He went to visit a friend, nobody's home, and he gets back on his bike and he's standing by the woods as a Bigfoot, typical description, and it chases him. So you imagine how fast he had to go on his bike to be. Because I don't know how far it chased me, but it chased me for a while. But again, honestly, that boy's not going to outrun it. The Bigfoot just wanted to scare him. Like, get out of here. I'm trying to hunt this deer right now. Can you please leave? So again, they don't want to hurt us. Sometimes they want to scare us. Summer of 73, Berea, Kentucky. A boy was camping, got out of his tent, sees a Bigfoot standing there. Typical description, long arms, heavy brow, covered in hair, wide shoulders, etc., 7 to 8 foot tall. Typical Bigfoot. Here's some other reports taken recently. This lady calls me and she says, it was Sunday night, I just finished watching the news. I took my little dog outside to go to the bathroom. And she goes, now my dog's a biting dog. Everybody knows it's a biting dog. And when I went out there and I saw this creature in my yard, my dog didn't make a sound. You come to my house, I'll show you he's a biting dog. That's okay, I'll come to your house, which I did. Not to see the dog. But. So this is me, I'm standing where the Bigfoot stood right there. So that's me. The camera where the person took the pictures, my brother, is where she was standing. So it's very close. She had a porch light on, her neighbor had lights on, so she could tell it was just like this, long arms covered in hair. And then it ran off. I mentioned the Salt River's back there because I've got reports all along that Salt River, all the way from Fort Knox, all the way up to Taylorsville Lake. tons of Bigfoot reports. So I think they like to follow the rivers, the Green River, the Kentucky River, and the Boggy Creek, the legend of Boggy Creek. He always follows the creeks. So I do think they follow the creeks because of the tree line. They go under every road. So Bigfoot can get across roads just by taking the creek and never be seen. So we think they travel the creeks a lot and they stay by water for food and water. So it's interesting the Salt River was right there. This was a land between the lakes. This gentleman, his testimony is on my YouTube. His picture, the video of this gentleman's telling his story. And here's what's amazing about this guy telling his story. He works at a high school. He's an athletic director at a high school and the soccer coach. Are you kidding me? Think about it when he went in that video, right, and came out that he saw Bigfoot. All the students are going to make fun of him, right? All the faculty and staff are going to make fun of him. He's taking a huge risk. He was making this up. Right? Wouldn't it be crazy? Why would you make that up? You're going to get ridiculed. Because I know what I saw. I was with my family, we're fishing, we pulled the boat over, we're cooking some hot dogs. There's a heavily dense, forest right there. There's no trails. And I heard somebody walking up there, and I told my wife, keep a lookout, somebody's walking up there. He gets busy cooking his hot dogs, a little grill he brought. Then he hears, bang! Tree knock. And if you know anything about Bigfoots, they like to bang on trees as a warning sometimes, or as a location thing, like I'm here, I'm over here, you hear him knocking back and forth a lot. And his son said to his dad, Dad, I think that's a Bigfoot. So the dad jokingly takes a stick, hits a tree, and knocks back immediately. Not many animals will knock back to you like that. So then the boys get scared, the wife and the daughter, let's go, so they get in the boat, and he's driving real slow, and he looks up in the bushes. Now, he borrowed his kid's crayons. So he did this. He got home, and he colored what he saw. And then he saw it run away, too, to the trees. He said, Charlie, there's no way anybody can take their phone out and get a picture of that thing, get a video of that thing, much too quick. It blew him away how fast that thing was. He said, even if you had your camera right here, if you brought it up and tried to, it's too quick. It was like, gone. This one, this gentleman, believe it or not, he doesn't have the internet. Right? He's a farmer. I think he was about 80. And he was listening to a radio show, a morning show, where Don Neal, he's a researcher in our organization, was on the radio show talking about Bigfoot. Gave out the phone number. This guy calls the number, speaks to me. He was in his garden, it was around dusk, and I look over the fence, and there's this big hairy creature standing by the tree line. And because I have my rake in my hand, I go, it's okay, you can come closer. I won't hurt you. Just a sweet old man, So he says it again, it's okay, you can come closer, I won't hurt you. Then he thought maybe the rake is scaring it, so he laid the rake down, and he said it again, it's okay, you can come closer. The Bigfoot steps over a 3-foot fence, walks up. Again, this was almost 10 yards from him. And this is what he saw. It was gray color, long arms. He said wide hooded nose, thin lips, heavy brow, big black eyes. You don't see the pupils, that's common. There's big black eyes. Typical Bigfoot. The thing that was odd about it, he said the bangs looked like they were cut right across the forehead. So there was straight bangs. That's odd. Maybe Bigfoot has a barber. So here's what's cool. So he's looking at this Bigfoot, right? Then he realizes, I better go back in the house. Right? It's sinking in, this guy's big. So he turns to go back in the house, and right when he goes to open the door, he looks back, and the Bigfoot's walking away behind his greenhouse. So the gentleman goes inside, takes 2 potatoes from his garden, opens his back door and puts the potatoes on the railing to his deck. He said, before I went to bed, I opened my back door, those potatoes were gone. Yeah, it could have been another animal. But he liked to think that the Bigfoot took the offering, took the gift. You know, you'd like to think there's a happy relationship there. There is something in Bigfooting called gifting. Lots of reports of Bigfoots coming to houses. And in Kentucky, we throw food out in the backyard. I'll give you one example. I can go on and on. I was at near Mammoth Cave in Park City, did a presentation there, got done. A guy comes up and goes, I used to live right outside here, Park City by Mammoth Cave when I was a boy. My mom would throw scraps in the backyard. We had an old frame house made out of wood, and then on a couple occasions you hear something run around the house, shake the windows to the house, he said. He said it was massive. Whatever this was on two legs. The windows shook, stopped at the food, never did see it, and then left. He said that happened on a couple occasions. And there's just stuff like this that people come forward with. I got so many stories. I can talk your ear off. Again, over 500 reports, I can tell you. So again, this Bigfoot could have hurt that gentleman easily. Did not hurt that gentleman. So Kentucky, when I moved here about 35 years ago, I realized in Kentucky we go by counties, you know. And then I realized every county had their own nickname for Bigfoot. So here are some of the nicknames I've collected. They're pretty creative names. Some of these sketches that you see some of the sketches are from the eyewitnesses, some of those. Howdy, this one here is famous. I don't think I have it in here. Howdy's from Anderson County, nearby. Howdy was seen in the 60s. He walked out of the woods and raised his hand. And then walked away. Howdy, interesting about Howdy, in 2011, 2 teens moved to Kentucky from Florida. Why would you move to Kentucky from Florida? I did. People, overall, I tell you, people here are much nicer, generally speaking, friendly, they wave. Kentucky, Florida was much different. I was born and raised in Florida. So people here are very welcoming. I love Kentucky. I love the seasons. So I think we wave a lot here, right? So in 2011, these 2 teens, they knew nothing about Bigfoot in Kentucky. They didn't know about Howdy. They took a report or sent a report into the BFRO. They're in their backyard playing. This creature walked out of the woods and raised his hand. So it's not far. It's the same county, same behavior. I gave a presentation in Tennessee. Literally, over 1,000 people in the audience. I did a whole presentation. I talked about Howdy. When I got done, a guy comes up. He couldn't wait to come up and tell me. He goes, "You're not going to believe this. In Illinois, a young boy, I was fishing with my dad. When my dad was fishing, I was riding my little bike. I go down the dam, I slide, come back across the dam, slide. But the second or third time I stop, this creature stands up behind a bush and does this." He said the same thing in Illinois. So maybe they watch us, maybe they observe us and they do the same thing. They know what that means maybe. So here's some more names. The Pope-like monster, people say it's a goat man. I've got research that I could tell you otherwise, but it's a whole other presentation for that. Why I believe it's a Bigfoot, not a goat man. There's more. Wood booger, hairy man, right? There's a lot of them that people come up with. Oh, there's Howdy. I didn't know I had to slide in there, but now Howdy wasn't the best of shape. Most Bigfoots, they said muscular, you know. Howdy had a little bit of a belly on him. Guess where this was? Right behind the Wild Turkey Distillery. So maybe that's why I had a little bit of a belly on him. Just joking. Daniel Boone and the Yahoo, who's heard of this story? I'm not going to go into too much detail. And this is wrong here. This stuff here is wrong. I've got more evidence saying it was closer towards the Red River Gorge in Powell County, where Boonesboro is, because we know Daniel Boone lived in Boonesboro in the late 1700s, and there's an occasion where the Shawnee kidnapped his daughter and a friend. They were canoeing in the Kentucky River. He had to go 3 days to get his daughter back. Another occasion, the Shawnee stole some horses. He had to go up to Ohio, get his horses back. It's like 500 Shawnee waiting. Wisely comes back. His son, who was an excellent marksman like Daniel, was on another ridge. A lot of times they would travel, hike separately so they could look for resources. He hears his son fire multiple shots. Daniel rushes to his aid. There's a 10-foot tall hairy creature with his son. He throws him down. Daniel gets close enough to shoot it in the face. And they killed it, actually hit it in the eye, dropping it. They took their walking sticks, they laid it out next to the creature, got back to Boonesboro, and they estimated it 10.5 feet tall. And that's up there towards, top of Red River Gorge area, kind of where our little motel is in Powell County. It's kind of right by there where we think it happened. So again, there's a lot of controversy over this because he didn't like to tell the story. He liked the book Gulliver's Travels. In Gulliver's Travels, they talk about a Yahoo, it's a giant, and he liked that book. Okay? Well, maybe he just used the term Yahoo because he saw one and he knew what Yahoo meant was a giant. Or maybe he made the whole thing up. So you don't really know. I might even have that map on here. This is a different map. What's interesting about this map, somebody gave me this, and they talk about Daniel Boone there. This is in Warren County. It says large human skeletons found. And where are these skeletons? Lots of records of these giant skeletons, human-like. So this again just showed where the giant skeletons were, but it's a cornfield now. So here's, I'm sorry, I kind of went through that a little bit here. This talks about a 5-year study in Grant County, Kentucky. Okay, follow me on this. There's video out there of Matilda. This lady was throwing away scraps in her backyard. The Bigfoots would come up and eat the scraps. She got some footage. This is a frame of it, of this skinny, malnutrition Bigfoot coming up eating the pancakes. Pancakes seem to be the common thing. So you talk to Matt Moneymaker, so yeah, they like maple syrup, because whatever she threw out pancakes with maple syrup, they come up and get it. Sold this to a guy in Canada, Adrian Erickson. He came in, bought the farm, moved the couple down the street, brought in researchers with PhDs. Sorry, I know I keep moving around. They studied this creature for 5 years. They got DNA. I could go on and on and on how they got the DNA, et cetera, et cetera. The DNA came back in a study with 100 other samples from around the world, all came back with Homo sapien in the DNA, with some other hominid. So most academics threw it out. Contaminated. They didn't know what they're doing. This lady here has a PhD in evolutionary biology. I would think she knows how to collect DNA the correct way. But she got DNA from one of these Bigfoots. They took a plate, they put pieces of glass, real fine glass, put maple syrup on it. When the Bigfoot came up, they got blood on it, and they got the DNA. I would think she would know how to collect it the right way for this study. But again, it came back with Homo sapien in it. Huh, maybe Bigfoot is part Homo sapien. Maybe it has some of us in it. But anyway, big controversy. The footage came out. They said it's a Chewbacca. Follow me on this. The first Chewbacca for Star Wars was a lizard man. The first sketches, you can go find it online, was a lizard man. It wasn't a Chewbacca, Chewie as we know it. Bigfoot was hot back then, so they made Chewie to look like a Bigfoot. Lawyer said, don't do that because we need to sell the toys. Right? Say you made it after your dog. So what I'm getting at is, the Bigfoot they filmed, Chewbacca looks like it. It wasn't a Chewbacca mask imitating a Bigfoot. It's actually, Chewie was made in the likeness of a Bigfoot, all the way around. But anyway, nobody's going to know because when all this was going to come out in the documentary, the lawyers started arguing over rights to the footage, the DNA, it all fell through. There's more to that story. I think I have a video of it too, somewhere in here. Video. My clicker stopped. And my computer stopped. Yeah, I think my computer stopped. Sorry. Hold on, I'm sorry. Let me see if I can. Sure did. Sorry about that. My computer kind of froze now. Time for a new computer. I'll do it anyway. Okay. Wheel. It's frozen. So. All right. I'm not going to be able to go past it. It's frozen. All right. So anyway, to wrap up, because I got 5 minutes. Let's do this. Let's take questions because I know I covered a lot of stuff. So, questions.
Are you familiar with the book Devolution by Max Brooks?
Devolution.
Devolution. It actually focuses about, there's a catastrophe on Mount Rainier, it explodes, not explodes, so the volcano erupts, and it causes a herd of Bigfoot to come out from the mountain and into this small community. It doesn't paint Bigfoot in a positive light.
Oh, they're angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't heard that story. I've heard other stories like Mount St. Helens.
It's based on that.
Same kind of thing. Mount St. Helens, when this one came out, it was burned up more than 50% of its body. It sat down by EMS workers, and they're like, do we take it to a vet or a doctor? And they put it in the ambulance, never to be seen again. Where did that Bigfoot end up, you know? So, no, I've not heard that one. And don't get me wrong, Bigfoots could be like people. Different personalities, different temperaments. You might catch one on a bad day, so. Any other questions? Yes.
How do you discern between good accounts and bad accounts?
Oh, from a witness?
Yeah.
There's things I look for. So my degree's in psychology, all right? One thing I learned from my sociology class is when you tell a story, you have an audience. And you want to sell your story to the audience. If you see something that's remarkable as a Bigfoot, you're going to exaggerate that story to sell it. And if I'm talking to one person or many, if I'm telling this Bigfoot story, the Bigfoot's going to get bigger and teeth and hair. I'm going to try to exaggerate it. So I need to ask open-ended questions. Don't lead them. What did you see? When I get there in person, what did you see? Compare my notes, compare the video, make sure it's consistent. And then there's certain things that they might say that might be so far-fetched that I'm like, you kind of pick up on it, and I just throw it out. But I do report things where people say it just kind of vanished. Somebody from Oklahoma, I took that report, and she was very believable up to the part where she said she looked at her tent and it just vanished. I put it in the report. So, yes.
Do you heard a credible account about humans being harmed by Bigfoot?
Heard of a credible one?
What you consider credible?
Where humans are
What you consider credible account
Oh,
of somebody being harmed by Bigfoot?
harmed. And here's what's, there are a lot of podcasts out there, I don't want to name them. I think some of that, they do it for the subscribers and for the likes and for the viewers and subscriptions, and some of that stuff just made up. Too far-fetched. Where the humans hurt, But then, okay, where's the hospital records of that? There's no proof of, you know, of some of this stuff. So I don't know what to believe in all that. I'll just tell you my own experience. I've never taken one in Kentucky where it hurt the human. Never. Yes.
You heard that guy out in Colorado that for about 3 years, he slept with him, walked with him, snow, whatever, put out apples, took limbs and actually taken the apples off of the tree. And he called it the male. He said it was very aggressive. So he would always circle around, come in from behind. When the female would come in, he said, you could hear him coming. He said, but he would growl, grunt, and actually throw rocks, and even throw the logs and knock him down once.
Stuff like that is a little bit more believable because I've had some encounters in Kentucky where they've thrown things and hit the person with something but didn't hurt them. Like I once hit him with a rock in the shoulder but didn't hurt him. Another one, kids were playing in the backyard, long story, she was putting apples out as gifts and an apple comes from the tree line and hits the little girl in the stomach. Made a red mark. I got a picture of it. The girl went in the house crying. But, you know, again, that Bigfoot really wanted to hurt those kids, could have. I think maybe he was playing and doesn't know its own strength and hit it with an apple in the stomach. So we don't know. But that's more believable because you do hear some of that. They get a little rough sometimes. Yes.
So even though we haven't been able to like definitively get a evidence base about Bigfoot, has there been any research about like where they spot Bigfoot, if there's any disruptive into the biodiversity of animals? Like have they had one an animal like that they might eat has been depleted in a certain area because I don't know to make it seem more real in that area?
Yeah.
That makes any sense?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's hard because you really have to take the data from all the sightings and, you know, kind of organize it and then go study, say, the deer population, which is their primary food source, and then do a study of the deer population and see the deer population dwindle, the Bigfoot sightings going up, and try to do some kind of causation of that.
Anybody out there actually doing that or trying to, because it's like you can't get them on film, but if you could figure out if there's a depleted population of deer or whatever their food source is, you know, in their natural habitat versus, you know, not be able to scientifically prove more.
That's true. We just need more accurate data and more, because right now we're just going by witness testimony. It's not really like we tagged a Bigfoot, it's tagged and we can track them and we know how many are in the spot. We kind of guesstimate how many Bigfoots are in that area. All right, I'll take 2 more questions. Yes.
What are they eating to support that much mass?
Anything they want. We think they're omnivores, so they eat meat and fruits and vegetables. I've got a report in Kentucky of a lady looking at her back window. It's on the website. There's an artist sketch. It's got an armful of apples, picking an apple off the tree. There's one in Kentucky on I-75 going up to Ohio. A lady slows down. The Bigfoot stands up. There's a roadkill, a deer, takes the deer, throws the deer over the shoulder, and walks off with the deer. So we have reports of them eating everything, you name it. So I think they eat constantly. Yes.
Have you ever seen any of the structures that they show on the Bigfoot TV shows that they built with branches and stuff?
Yes, have seen those. And those are tricky because we make them too. Boy Scouts make teepees. Mother Nature will make X's and trees fall. It's very, very tricky on those. So you really got to take that with a grain of salt and you got to look at it closer and analyze it better. But we do think they do some of that stuff to maybe mark their territory, but we don't know for sure. Yes, in the back, young man. Footprints, yes. So we have really good footprints in Kentucky. Couple of real quick things and I'll let you guys go. The cast we get, generally the width is half the length, much wider than the humans. There's a toe splay. Thousands of years of us wearing footwear, if we step in the mud, our toes are together. So we look at that. If the toes are splayed out, they don't wear shoes, that's a good indicator. The mid-tarsal break, their foot is flexible, the arch, ours is not. It also turns this way. They can tell by the way it steps. So there's a lot of things we look at with the footprints to think it's actually a Bigfoot and not a hoax. I think you're going to wrap it up now. Thank you guys so much for coming. Please check out books in the library, read up on the subject. You can contact me through KentuckyBigfoot.com. And one other thing, did anybody here have a sighting? I forgot to ask that. Anybody have a sighting here?
I've seen some shadows. That's
Shadows?
like, maybe.
Maybe?
But that's it.
Like outline of a
Yeah,
Bigfoot?
yeah.
Where was that at?
Well, actually, Pacific Northwest.
Okay. And you might have too?
I've heard them and I've smelled them, but I've never seen one. But I have family members that have seen them.
Really? What
And
county is
they
that?
look like ninjas.
Was that this county?
No, near McKee.
Okay. Jackson.
Yeah.
Still close.
Make sure you grab a card, and I'd like to contact you guys and follow up on that, okay? In the back, we've got books. I'd be happy to sign books and some other things. Thank you guys again for coming.
Also, I just,